Good evening, Trump family. Welcome to Open Source News. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on that notifications bell so you don't miss a thing. Alright, the following is a collection of news from Patriots. Let's get into the news. And what's happening in Brazil gives me hope that the citizens of this world, citizens of sovereign countries who have had their elections tampered with, is now rising up and fighting back. And that's what's happening in the country of Brazil. If you guys don't know, a couple of weeks ago, they had an election, just like we had here in the United States, where there were some wonky things that were taking place. And now there's mechanisms within the Constitution of Brazil that could actually render their election null and void, and have a redo on the election because of what was taking place. And what we have seen in Brazil right now is the outpouring of support for President Bulges are there in Brazil, millions of people protesting because they know what happened in their own election. There is tons of questions and the military is now being involved where they could handle the election. So let's kind of dive into what we have here. This is how it's done? Over 3 million Brazilians protests the election Bolsonaro or to know the election. So here this is how it's done right. Since the massive fraud during the runoff election on October 30th. In Brazil, millions of Brazilians have been protesting on the streets every day against the electoral fraud by communists convicted criminal Luiz Inconvênio Lula da Silva right. So yeah, this is a huge look at that. Look at that crowd. My goodness, right. Yeah. So on yesterday's Day of the Republic, millions took to the streets again, especially in Rio de Janeiro, and the capital, Brazil, but also in smaller towns across the country. The mainstream media such as O Global refused to report on what may be the largest protests the world has ever seen. Feeling even more rage and disappointment among the Brazilian people. I'm no expert on the history of protests, but I think these may be the biggest protests the world has ever seen. Brazil expert Fernando Teles told German website Free World people are very angry. That isn't really like Brazilians at all. They're usually pretty laid back and they are all right. Huge. According to Teles, over 3 million people demonstrated yesterday in Brasilia, although the capital is very difficult to reach, and people often had to travel several days to get there in Rio de Janeiro. Approximately 500,000 people protested in front of the old Ministry of Defense demanding military intervention to prevent the communists from taking over. Demonstrators complained at least 100 of the electronic ballot boxes did not contain a single vote for Bolsonaro. 5 million votes were discarded allegedly. Lula won 50.9% of the vote and Bolsonaro had 49.1%. Last week the Minister of Defense Paulo Sr. Sergio Garivo de Oliveira man, that's a long name. My friend sent his report on possible election tampering to the radical leftist Supreme Court. Electoral Supreme Court, which consists of die-hard Lula supporters to military reports spoke of relevant security risks. It is not possible to say to election voting system is free from the influence of malware that could affect its outcome, says the report. The ZE will likely ignore the report. However, now President Bolsonaro Liberal Party has also submitted its report on election fraud, stating that the place will request an annulment of the election, because it is not possible to validate the results of the electronic voting machines. There you guys go. The people in Brazil are demanding that they have a redo an old US election because of what took place there on their time when they had a chance to voice their support for their candidate in the election. There's been a lot of fraud and a lot of tampering. And I hope resilient people will get the president they deserve, and not some communists who will destroy their nation even further. And some significant news. What's that saying again? What's that thing that people say when you get what you deserve? Yeah, that's what it is. F around and find out. And boy are people learning the hard way at Twitter. It is now being reported that Elon Musk has apparently supposedly fired 50% of the Twitter staff. I don't know if that number is totally accurate. But the simple fact here is that Elon Musk is cleaning house, and the beautiful part of it all is that it's becoming kind of a spectacle, which is playing out in public in front of our very eyes on Twitter. It seems like some of the lefty hack wolky software engineers at Twitter are testing their luck with their new boss Elon, and learning real quick that he is not playing games, and that they are very easily replaceable. And life folks, you got to learn when you have leverage. And when you do not. You got to be careful because one day you might F around and find out real quick. Alright folks, so Dick Zerto reports. Several employees that express criticism of Elon Musk and Twitter's Slack channels were reportedly fired overnight. As per at Casey Newton, the employees were informed of their termination through email stating the following: "We regret to inform you that your employment is terminated immediately." And of course, the left is outraged. Elon Musk continues to prove us right as what left boys are saying: he's a fascist. He doesn't believe in free speech. He's firing people that disagree with him and people that are criticizing him. And here we go. Again, another totally disingenuous, bogus leftist narrative. That's not at all what's happening. What's happening is a bunch of clearly politically motivated Twitter employees are acting totally inappropriately, not only on Twitter's Slack channel, which is the internal communication system, I guess, that many companies use if you guys work in the corporate world. A lot of you guys, especially in the tech world, know what Slack is. It's basically like Discord. But for companies. Well, you know, going back to that, for those of you guys who have worked in the corporate world before, let's instantly debunk the leftist narrative. Let's say you are working at a job and you have a Slack channel and you then enter said Slack channel and you start mouthing off and attacking the new owner and CEO of the company that you work for. What do you think's going to happen? Are you going to keep your job? In most cases? No, you can't do that. When you're working for a company, you have to act a certain way. And if you don't like it, well, then you probably shouldn't be working for the man. Not to mention some of this stuff isn't even happening in the Slack channel. There seems to be a revolt against Elon Musk's Twitter takeover from Twitter stuff happening in public. Here's an example of how it's playing out in front of the public side. Elon Musk tweets, "By the way, I'd like to apologize for Twitter being super slow. In many countries app is doing greater than 1,000 poorly batched RPCs. Just to render a home timeline. Here's the new boss of Twitter, apologizing to people for the product being slow in certain countries." And then a Twitter engineer publicly tweet quotes him and writes, "I have spent 6 years working on Twitter for Android and consider this is wrong." Elon Musk then responds, "Then please correct me. What is the right number? Twitter is super slow on Android. What have you done to fix that?" The Twitter engineer then responds, "Maybe he should ask questions privately, maybe using Slack or email." Then an anonymous Twitter user responds with this kind of attitude, "You probably don't want this guy on your team." Elon responds, "He's fired." And I mean, just the lack of self-awareness. Maybe he should ask questions privately. Maybe using Slack or email, says the guy who went after a statement that Elon Musk made on Twitter, publicly trying to dunk his boss in front of a crowd of millions on the Twitter platform. Maybe you should address your boss privately. Maybe using Slack or email. Elon Musk wasting no time sending the guy packing. Here's another example. The same tweet from Elon. This individual responds, "You did not just lay off most of all of the infra and then make some sassy remark about how we do batching, like did you bother to even learn how GraphQL works? You don't get dinged on our infra if you don't know what the F it does, while you're also scrambling to rehire folks you laid off a few moments later. Lol, just got fired for posting. I said it before and I'll say it again, kiss my Elon." Are we supposed to feel bad for these people? The same folks running Twitter into the ground, losing over $1 billion in a single fiscal year. Are we supposed to feel bad for them? Never. The same people who deplatformed conservatives did the algorithm to benefit Democrats and, frankly, liberals across the Western globe. The same people who banned a sitting president from having a voice in the political discussion. Are we supposed to feel bad for these people? Never. And what's beautiful is Elon Musk certainly doesn't feel bad. Unusual Whales reports Elon has fired numerous employees who are critical of him on Twitter and the company's Slack. According to Protocol, Elon responds, "I would like to apologize for firing these geniuses. Their immense talent will no doubt be of great use elsewhere." Elon Musk knows exactly what he's doing. And the funniest part is that he's fired so many people and Twitter is still running. I haven't noticed a single difference. And they've even implemented a bunch of changes and a bunch of new systems since firing. Basically, half of the staff. Oh, no, the Twitter platform is gonna fall apart. After all, these immensely talented geniuses get laid off. It just goes to show how useless some of these people occupying corporate positions really are. And once again, if you've worked in the corporate world, you know the way that it is. You just finished graduating school, or maybe you're self-taught, and you've got a demo reel, and you put it together and you get hired. You either get your foot in the door in an entry-level job doing random Bs, and then move towards junior position, Or you get hired as a junior if you're extremely talented, and the company's in expansion mode, you come in, you're hungry, you're a junior, you're working, you're behind off, you're doing overtime, you eventually become a senior. And then the moment you become a senior, you basically don't work. That's the way that it works. Of course, this doesn't apply to everyone. But that's just the way that it is in the corporate world. There are so many people who just do nothing. They have seniority, they work, maybe 2 hours in the workday. People spend a whole lot of time talking about doing things but don't actually do anything. I mean, think about Twitter has this massive software development team. When is the last time they released brand new features? It doesn't happen. They released an edit button this year, which is the first change that I've noticed at the platform in a very long time. Do you really need to be spending millions of dollars on the infrastructure, the space, the computers, the electricity benefits, salaries? The list goes on and on. A massive engineering team that does absolutely nothing. Clearly not. And what Elon Musk is doing here is starting fresh. A company that has a bunch of disgruntled Twitter employees that are angry at the new boss won't survive. Clearly, you're not going to keep your job. If the new guy comes in taking over and says we're going to build his grand vision, and you have a bunch of angry Twitter employees trying to one-up him, or embarrass him publicly talking bad about him behind his back, well, clearly those people are going to sabotage the whole project. They must go. Elon Musk understands this. He's building a new future for the company. All of this, everything that he's trying to do is to build the everything platform. Twitter is no longer just going to be Twitter. He's trying to build something massive. He's taking it as a base in order to build something akin to WeChat, which is exactly what he's on the record saying. He has a massive vision that he's trying to create, and he needs to get rid of the chaos, the people who are causing problems. And how much of an entitled leftist you have to be think that you're the victim when you're existing at your corporate job just to be snarky and to attack your boss in no universe. Does that make any sense only in the mind of a leftist? Yes, I'm sure those Twitter employees are the victims. No, they got what they deserved. They left around and they found out we know what's going on here, because we have the data. We have this breakdown from Verdict Labs back in 2017. There are 79 Democrats for every 1 Republican in the world of software engineering. Clearly knows that left-boids view Elon Musk as a right-wing troll, right-wing extremist, and clearly these people have got to go if the world of Twitter and online platforms are going to be fair and balanced when it comes to political and ideological representation. The Twitter spectacle continues to be one of the bright spots of 2022, and it just keeps getting better. Thanks for being here, folks. Big hug. Ciao. Goodbye. God bless.